Hi, and thank you for joining us today for On Point with PowerPoint. My name is Christy Fallon. I'm the Communications Coordinator for Military Family Services Europe. I've been working in communications for more than 10 years in a range of sectors. I consider myself a lifelong learner with a profound love for sharing things that I've learned along the way. And I certainly don't consider myself an expert, but I do hope you'll take away something from our time together today. Today, I'll be guiding you through a presentation that looks at some things to consider when developing a presentation and some practical step-by-step tips to make your presentations look polished and professional. We're going to look at some design tips, templates and stock photography, and some PowerPoint basics with some pro tips, along with some other tools that PowerPoint has available. It's worth noting that I'm running the PowerPoint 2015 version. So whether you're developing presentations for yourself or for your organization, keeping these tips in mind will help you deliver a communications product that not only looks great, but also keeps your messaging at the forefront of your presentation. Throughout the presentation, you'll see source links that I've included, which will be shared in a resource document that will accompany this presentation. So most often, a good design will go unnoticed, but a bad design can take away from your message. This is why it's so important to not only consider what you have to say in your presentation, but how your presentation is going to look. So some design tips to consider for your next presentation. Skip the stock template. While Microsoft does have templates, make sure you're not using the themes embedded in PowerPoint. These ones here at the top. Instead, look for templates that fit the look and feel of what your presentation is talking about. Later on, I'll share some additional resources and how to find some great templates. Also, some design tips, don't do this. Here, PC World has pulled together the top 10 of world's worst PowerPoint presentations. So when you're doing your presentation, you might want to take a look at these. And if your presentation looks like these, maybe take a look at some of the design tips in my presentation. So there are 4 basic design principles that you can apply to your PowerPoint presentation: contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. And they've served me well in my career. This image here on the slide gives more detail about how to apply the principles, but it all comes back to one idea. Everything is on the page for a reason. Nothing is haphazardly placed. In addition, you should be thinking about color and how the colors in your presentation work together and add to your message. There are tools like Color Hex that provide complementary color schemes so you can ensure you are effectively using color. And as for text, don't use more than 6 lines of text on a slide. I think we've all been in the presentation that have slides full of text and you're trying to read everything before the presenter moves on. The problem with this, though, is it means the audience isn't listening to the presentation. So keep it short, use bullet points and phrases to capture the meaning. Along the same lines, make sure that your text is a minimum of 24 point. You don't want your audience squinting to try and see what's on your presentation. While the screens are large, yes, you don't want to create any barriers that may interfere with your presentation. Don't use more than 2 or 3 fonts in one's presentation. Keep it simple. Use just a few font choices so the text isn't visually distracting. Choose a specific font for headlines, body text, and keep it consistent throughout. Use sans serif fonts. So there are 2 different font families, serif fonts and sans serif fonts. Serif fonts are harder to read on paper on account of the feet on the letters. Serif fonts are harder to read on screen, not on paper, because of the feet. So choose serif fonts such as Arial, Calibri, or others. And if you're not sure if the font you've selected is a serif or sans serif font, look for the feet. The little feet, you can see them sticking off there. Use single images. Keep it simple and only include 1 image per slide. One powerful image connected to the text on the screen. Allow it to take up a good portion of the screen. And I thought it would be interesting to share with you. I recently found this online about images that are being bought by marketers. So 60% of their best-selling images from this one site had people with a single subject, while only 20% contained 2 or more subjects. Candid photos sold nearly twice as much as posed images, and 85% of the sold photos they analyzed featured a subject looking away from the camera, which tells us these are the images that are resonating with people. So look for stock photography that isn't the cheesy stock photography that you're probably used to, but the more natural, candid looking shots. So when you're looking for images, please don't use Google Images or save images off the internet. There are so many sources for great stock photos that don't infringe on copyright laws. Here are 5 that I found that have beautiful images. You don't need to create an account either. You can just click on the link and search for what you're looking for. So we've clicked through, and as you can see, it's really easy to search and find images that could be a good fit. So we're just going to search for dog. And as you can see, there's a lot of really beautiful images here that come up. And so to download it, I would just left click on the image, and up here on the right hand side, you can see free download. And so you can actually select the size too. Just be aware that the larger image size will increase your file size. So if you don't need a very high resolution image, to keep it lower. And you can play with this and see what's going to work well for your presentation. And the other sites that I've listed too are very much the same, with a very simple text bar that you can search and find what you're looking for. And there's different options across all of these sites. As I said before, you don't need a login information. You just go to the site and search. The only exception to that is with Canva, which is a design platform that also has free stock photography in it. It's a free account, and you have access to a lot of different stock options, but it is the only one that actually requires an account. So it's worth noting too that these sites also have icons and other stock assets, such as video and audio, that you can use. So talking about templates earlier, there are a number of different sources that you can find templates. Microsoft has them as well. So if you hit File, we're going to just start a new presentation, and you'll see a number of different templates that are available here. You can also go to their website. We're going to go back home, back to our presentation. So there's a link here that has templates for PowerPoints, for Microsoft's templates. Those are available here, and you would just download them and they would open. In addition, they have also other templates for infographics and other things. Canva also has presentation templates. You can see there's a number of them here. SlidesGo also has them, as does PowerPointify. So there's a number of different resources that I've provided here. If you just Google, you'll find even more. There's a lot of free templates that are available online. So moving on to some basics with some pro tips. So there's a lot of things you can actually do within PowerPoint. So you can duplicate slides, which is really easy if you've created a look and feel within a presentation, and you want to make sure that your alignment is the same from slide to slide. There's nothing more disjointing than noticing that the alignment is different between slides. So within PowerPoint, there's a number of different ways to do it. So I can right click on the slide and go into duplicate. I can also use a shortcut. So I've selected the item here on the left-hand side. You'll see that there's a little red box on the outside. So I've selected it, and I'm just going to hit Control and D. It's worth noting, if you're using a Mac, I'm using a PC, But if you're using a Mac, it would be Command D instead of Control D for that shortcut. You can also, so I'm going to just delete that. I've got it highlighted, and I'm just going to hit delete on my keyboard, and it'll remove that extra slide. Something that you can also do if you want to duplicate several slides, you can do that at once. I've left clicked on the slide here in the left hand side, and I'm just going to hit hold down my shift button on my keyboard, and I'm going to highlight 3 slides here. And again, I can right click and go into duplicate slide, or I can just do Control D, and it will duplicate those slides. So with all 3 of them selected, I'm just going to delete them to remove them from my presentation. And go back to the slide that we were on. You can also, if you decide that you want to move your slides, you're not stuck with where they are. You can just drag and drop them. So if it makes sense to move them to a different spot within your presentation, you can go ahead and do that. You're not confined to having all of the content right where you've placed it when you first started working on it. If you want to see more of your slides all at once so you can organize them, you just go up to the ribbon and click on View, and you can go to Slide Sorter, which gives you an overview of your presentation. And if you have timings on your slides, it will show up there as well. So as we can see, we're back here. And just to return, we would just go back to normal. But it's worth noting that there are some other views here as well. So if you have notes, you can click on Notes. That's the Notes Master. That's not what we wanted to go to. We're going to close the master view, but we're going to go back in here, and we can view our notes page, which will show you your slide, and if you have any notes, which can be helpful when you're doing your presentation. You can also do reading view, so you can get a good look at your presentation. We're just going to hit the escape and exit that. You can go to outline view, which shows your slides over here on the left, as well as your notes. But we're just going to go back to normal view. And then to delete, just like I said, you can either right click and go into delete slide here, or you can just highlight it and delete the text box. So some different text features, like we talked about with the duplicate for the slides, it's really similar with the text box. So if I wanted to duplicate it, I need to make sure that the text box is selected. So with the cursor on the outside of the text box, I'm just going to left click, and now the text box is selected rather than the text on the inside of the text box. And I can just do Control D, which will duplicate my text box, as you can see there. If you want to group items, I'm going to hold Shift down, and then I can select 2 items at the same time. So if I wanted to group them, I can do Control G, or now that I've undid that, we're going to go into the other way that you can do it is once you have the item selected, you can click on Shape Format, where you'll see a whole other options for formatting that become available. The shape format will not show up if you don't have it highlighted. So it's not one of those menu options that's always there. It only pops up once you actually have design features selected, because there are different there's a different shape format toolbar and a different text format toolbar. So sorry, not text, image. So you'll see the group here. We can go ungroup, which will ungroup the items. Again, we're going to select both text boxes. We're going to go into shape format and look at some of the other arrangement tools that PowerPoint has. So you can align your text boxes in a variety of different ways. We're going to align the top, which aligns the top. It's worth noting that whichever text box you select first is the text box that will have the dominant position on the page. So the other text box will move to be in line with that first text box. So from there, you can hit group. And the great thing about this is if you need to move those text boxes, you can then do it and they'll be together. So you don't have to select everything that's on the page. If ever you want to ungroup them, again, I've selected the text box and I'm just going to go in and ungroup. And so to deselect both text boxes, I'm just going to click off left, do a left click off to the side somewhere so that neither of them are selected. The other interesting thing that you can do with the shape format toolbar, if you just want to align it to the page, you can just select the one text box, and when you hit align center, it will align it to the page rather than to other items on the page. So you can select align middle, and there's a whole bunch of different options there. We're just going to hit Control Z twice, which undoes the last actions. So don't be afraid to play around and experiment with your presentation, because you can always undo the last thing that you've done. So the command was Control Z. There's also a little arrow up here on the very top toolbar, which is the same thing. So it will undo the last command. To redo a command, you just do Control Y, and then it'll redo it if you've gone one step further back. So another alignment feature that you can do within PowerPoint, if we go back into shape format, you can distribute items evenly on the page. So there's two options. You can distribute it horizontally or you can distribute it vertically. It's worth noting that it will not distribute it evenly across the whole page, but it will use the items that are already on the page. So in this case, it will use the circle, the top of the circle as kind of the border where you want the 3 items to be distributed. And it will use the bottom of the toolbox text box as the other border. So if we just hit distribute vertically, as you can see, it's only the middle bar box that has moved, but all 3 items are distributed evenly on the page. It works really well if you have 3 text boxes that don't have any spacing afterwards, and you just want to have them evenly spaced within your page. It works really well for that. So if we were just to move this up here towards the top, I'm going to move the second text box, and I'm going to delete some of the text out of here so it's not so large. So you can see that even spacing that I'm talking about. So if we wanted to put that there, I've left clicked on all 3 using holding down my shift button on my keyboard to select all 3. I'm going to align them all to the left so they're all lining up nicely. And then I'm going to go back into align and I'm going to distribute them vertically. And so as you can see now, there's even spacing between this text box and this text box, which makes your presentations look really clean and smart. Some other formatting tools that you can use include arranging layers. So if you have other elements on your page and you want to have your text on top of it, or perhaps you want to have something hiding part of it for whatever reason. As you can see, I've just brought this circle over where my text box is, but I can go into arrange and hang on here. So I had more than one item selected, so I deselected it and reselected it, making it sure that I only had the circle selected. And as you will see now under arrange, you'll see bring forward and send backwards. And so the bring forward will bring it to the very front. There's 2 options. I can bring it forward a layer or I can bring it to the front. And so when I bring it to the front, it'll actually hide the text. So it just depends what you're trying to do with your presentation. Sometimes it can be really great to have layered images. In this case, if I wanted the circle to be over top of this semicircle, I could do that. But if I wanted it to be behind, I can send it backwards. I'm going to send it to the back, and then you've got this this look going on. So some other formatting tools that you have in addition to the arranging layers, you can, there's a selection pane that's also under the Sharp format, and it will show you all of the different elements that's on that page. So if you have several different layers, this is really handy to be able to hide certain layers. So if I'm just going to left click over the eye, it will hide different elements on the page so that you can select the image, the item that you want, and to be able to format it as you need to. There's also the option to show all or to hide all. So a lot of different options there for formatting, and it gives you the freedom to really select what you're trying to select instead of just trying to select the item and getting frustrated that way. So there's that. In terms of alignment, in addition to the alignment button under the shape format, you also have the option to go up to the view ribbon, and you can view the ruler, guidelines, and or gridlines and guides. So gridlines will just give you kind of a grid on the background. It's really handy for lining things up to the dots and gives you a good indication of spacing on your page. So if you had an image and you're trying to do 2/3 of the page, this will give you a really good idea of where that spacing would be. The thing that I tend to like the most is grid lines. And the reason for that is that you can, where are my grid lines? Sorry, not the grid lines, it's the guides that I really like. So as you can see, I have ruler on right now. So you'll see the ruler at the very top of the page. And I have guides on. And so guides, you can actually drag these guides to wherever you want on the page, and they will stay there from slide to slide. So if you're trying to align text boxes from one slide to the next, you can do that. So I've just dragged my text box over. It's worth noting you can also use your arrows to move features around on your slide. So I've just moved my text box over, and if I go up to my next slide, I can move that to the same spot that I've got it on this slide. So if you're not duplicating slides, this is another way that you can make sure that your alignment is the same throughout your presentation. So you can drag the guides anywhere you need to on your page. You can use the rulers on the right-hand side or on the left-hand and the top side to see where to distribute evenly, depending on what you're looking for on your slide. I use these guides when developing this presentation. So as you can see, all of my images are in the same spot so that there's good flow in between the different slides as you go through the presentation, and it's not distracting and taking away from the messaging. So in terms of working with images, we're just going to turn the ruler and the guides off right now for this presentation. The good thing to know is it's really easy to turn them on, and you can turn them back off. When you turn guides on, they will return to where you last had them. So you're not limited to always having them on to see it. So to insert a picture, you can upload an image. You can go into insert. If you hit the little arrow underneath pictures, you can select from this device. So if you find stock photography on one of those sites or another site, this is where you would upload it. If you click device, then you can just select your image and hit insert. And then you're able to move it around on the page. Another source for inserting pictures, deleted it. We're just going to go back into insert, click on the arrow below pictures, and you can click stock images. So Microsoft has stock images built in to PowerPoint, and some of them are really beautiful. So you don't always have to go to an external source for stock photography. Most of the images that I found for this presentation actually came from the stock photography within Microsoft itself. So you can just search for whatever you're looking for. Say we want to find a woman presenting. So I just type that in, and then it gives you a range of different options. If you're not finding what you're looking for, just change your search parameters a little bit. You can take off different parts of the word, and then you'll find different results. So don't feel like you're limited by your search parameters. You can always just look for things just a little bit differently until you find an image that works for your presentation. As you can see, a lot of these are not the stock canned photography, but they're really beautiful natural photos. So this is always an option as well. So I've just left clicked on the image that I want, and I'm going to hit insert down on the right hand corner, and Microsoft will download the picture to your computer, and then it'll be there. You're not limited to the dimensions as well when it puts it in. So if you can see, I've just moved my cursor over to the top left arrow, and I'm just dragging it down. And so when you're dragging it, you don't have to worry about the aspect ratio. So when you see an image that gets squished, Microsoft does not change the aspect ratio when you're moving it like this. If you grab one of the little anchor handles here on the left-hand side, that's when you'll see your aspect ratio will get changed. So, so I've just undid that. So another option you have for your presentation is you can change the angle of your image when you're putting it in. So you just grab the little arrow here at the top, and you can change that left or right. So with my photo selected, so I've done the left click on my image. You can see that picture format ribbon is now there. So when we have a different image or a different text box or item selected, you will see a shape format. But as soon as you're selecting a picture format, you have different options that come up on the picture format tab. So I've just select picture format. Over here on the right hand side, you have some of the same alignment opportunities here. So you can align it to the page. So if we wanted it in the center, we could do that in the middle of the page, sorry. You could do it that way. You can also rotate it here instead of just dragging it by the handle. So there's some built-in options here, but you can also left click on more rotation options, and it'll give you an option here. So you can just go 10% and it will rotate it 10%. And as always, you can click undo and it will reset that option for you. Going back into the picture format bar, we also have the option to group items. So you would have to have more than one item selected. So I'm just holding my shift key down and selecting both the image and the text box, and you'll see that the group option is now there. You can align text boxes and images, and the picture format will stay there as the dominant option. In terms of other formatting opportunities here, there's some different built-in filters and frames that you have available. And you can crop it to a shape. So with PowerPoint, you always have the opportunity to crop your image. So if you just clicked on crop, you would see the crop handlebars here, and you could just drag it. So if there was extra space around and you didn't want that to be the focus, you could drag the handles here, and by clicking crop again, we'll crop the image down to the size that you've selected. We're going to undo that and undo that. Back to the normal size. I'm actually going to work with this picture here. So you can crop the shape, crop the image to a shape. So if I've clicked the little arrow here below crop, And so you can hit crop to a shape, and say we wanted to shape this to an oval. It will shape to an oval. If you wanted to shape it to a circle, there is no circle option, but what you can do is just crop the image itself to something that more resembles a square. And when you click on oval, what will happen is you'll get that circle. So I've just cropped this image, and I'm just going to go crop to a shape, and you'll see it's become more circular. So it's just a matter of playing with the aspect ratio, which you can also do in here. If we went into portrait, you can see that when I've changed the aspect ratio, it's changed the shape as well. And then you have the option to fill the shape, or to fit it, or to fit the image, which will put it inside and not fill the shape. So definitely some different options there, just depending on what you're looking to do with your image. So once I've left clicked off the image, you'll see that my image is now cropped to the shape. If I left click on it again and go back into picture format, when I hit crop and fill, you will see that the image has come back up. So you can drag it and position the image within the shape to where you want it to be. So you're not particularly limited. You can also grab the corner and drag it to make it larger or smaller, just depending on what you want the focus of the image to be. Here I'm going to drag it so that the man is a little bit bigger and in the middle of the shape. I'm going to left click off of the image, and you can see he's now the focus of my image, with the boy out of the screen. And so another option that you can do for an image, say you have a website you want to share a picture of, you can just do Control Print, which will take a screenshot. And then if you do paste, you can see that it's pasted my screenshot there. So then you can go in and you can crop it down to the image that you want to have within your presentation. Something new that PowerPoint has in this edition is some design ideas. So when you insert your picture in, it will give you some suggestions and ideas. And so if there was one that you liked, you can just left click on it, and we'll apply that look to your slide. So there's different options there as well. And if at any time you want to undo those, you just hit the undo button, and it'll revert back to the previous step. And you can keep doing this. You're not limited to the number of times that you can hit back. So something else that you can do with PowerPoint is you can remove the picture background. So I'm going to left click on my picture. I'm going to go back into this picture format ribbon, and I'm going to just click this remove background. And so as you can see, it's removed most of the background. It's not particularly great because you're going to have to go in and mark areas to keep or mark areas to remove. I tend to use a different tool for this, which I'll show you. But if you want to stay within PowerPoint, you can just click on this mark areas to keep, and then just left click on the different parts of the image that you want to keep. It does have a hard time recognizing the difference between some of the colors sometimes, so it can be a bit fiddly. You can also just color on a shape as well, and it will take that as well. And you can zoom in. You can zoom in and fix that there as well. So if we went remove background, we've got our image selected. On the bottom here, you can see you have your zoom toolbar. And so if you just click zoom in, I can see that there's still a little bit of yellow from that background. So I can just click areas to remove, and it'll do that. If there's any areas that you want to keep, again, it's the same process. And then once you're finished, you can select keep changes, or you can discard the changes if you're not happy with what that looks like. So I'm going to zoom back out. So that is an option for removing the background, which is really handy if you have color that you want to use. And so I've left clicked on this. I'm going to go into picture format, and I'm going to bring this forward to the front. And so you can have images where you have different layers, but you've removed the background so it works with your presentation. PowerPoint has a bit of a problem differentiating when there's a busy background. The image of the grandfather and the son, it had a really hard time differentiating. A tool that I tend to like to use is Canva for this, because it's a very easy process. I would click on an image, I can go into effects and click background remover. And it tends to be a bit more accurate than what I've been finding with PowerPoint. So as you can see, then I've got my cupcakes. With this tool, you could then just go into download, and you could download the file as a PNG. You can see there's still some tidying up to do, but it tends to be a bit more accurate than with PowerPoint. So, but that's an option for you there as well. A cautionary word of advice is to use animations and transitions sparingly and with a little caution. And I say that because it takes a lot of time to get them right. So you have transitions here in this ribbon where you have a lot of different options. Once you apply a transition, it'll show you what it looks like. You can select different ones. It gives you an idea of what they all look like. Again, if you don't want to have any of them, you would just hit none. But it also has a preview button here as well. In terms of animations, it's the same. You have the option to apply different animations. If I selected an item, I would left click an item and then apply the animations. Just be wary that this doesn't take away from your presentation or the message that you're trying to communicate. So please use these sparingly and only use them if they make sense in the context of your presentation. So some other tools that PowerPoint also has, you can insert video, record video, do screen recordings, and record sound. So to insert video, we go back to the insert ribbon, and you can insert video here over on the right-hand side. So you can insert it from a device. So if you have a video file, you can select a video that way and insert it. There's some stock videos that Microsoft has. As with any of the other stock imagery, it's the same process. You would just search and find what you're looking for, left click and insert it. Once you left click on it, you can see the video, and from here you have options for formatting the video. You can change the shape of the video. You can add a border. There's some different effects that you can do around the edging of the video. You can provide some alt text. So if your video doesn't show up, if somebody doesn't have HTML enabled, then the alt text would show up there. You also have the opportunity to select the size of the video. If we wanted it 5 inches high, it would reduce the size, and it keeps the aspect ratio when you just change one of them. You also have the option to play with color. You can reset the design if you've applied things and you don't like how it looks. and you can correct some of the colors. So you can make it darker or lighter depending on how you want it to look. In terms of playback, you can also trim it. So if it's much too long and you just want like a 5-second clip as opposed to something a bit longer, you can do that. You can also do fade ins and fade outs. Again, these are amazing tools, but they just take more time when you're developing your presentation. So I'm just going to delete that. Something else that you can do is you can insert video from online. So I've just clicked on, did that really quickly, so I'll show you again. So I went back into my insert ribbon and I went over to video and clicked the little arrow down icon. And I'm just going down to online video, where you can insert the HTML address for the online video. If I grab one here. From our YouTube channel. As you can see, we have a number of recordings here. I've just selected this one. And on YouTube, there's a share button, which gives you a nice short link for a YouTube video. We're just going to copy that. I've left clicked on the copy, and we're going to return to our PowerPoint presentation, where I'm just going to use Control V, which is the shortcut for paste, to paste it into the toolbar there. And so as you can see now, the YouTube video there has popped up, and you can hit insert, and the YouTube video will be embedded into your presentation. So again, it gives you a number of different formats. I'm going to drag this and make it a bit larger. And so when you hit play, it will play the YouTube video within your presentation, which can be really handy because then you're not trying to find a video or having links queued up. You already have it within your presentation and you don't need to navigate away from it, which can be distracting for audiences. You can do a screen recording, which is really handy. We're just going to delete this. To do that, you just go into insert and you left click on screen recording. So once I've done that, you can select the area of the screen that you would like to record, and then you just click on record. And so what will happen is PowerPoint will give you a countdown. You do the recording, and then you just go up and you click stop when you're finished, and PowerPoint will insert that video into your presentation. From there, you can use it in your presentation, but something that's also really handy that you can do is you can right click and you can save media as. So if you're trying to do a little snippet of a YouTube video or something, you can just do that. If you want to show what a blog looks like, you can scroll through and just have a video of you scrolling through. So there's a lot of applications that you can use that feature for beyond just PowerPoint. You can also record sound. So if we go into insert, there's an audio button here next to the video. I'm just going to left click on the little arrow below. You can select audio that's on your PC, so you can download stock audio and upload it that way to your presentation. You can also record audio. And so this little bar will come up, a little box will come up once you've selected it, and you just hit record and you talk for however long. Once you've finished doing your recording, you just hit OK, and it will insert this little audio clip, which you can just so as you can see, you can do little sound bites. You can also save this from PowerPoint to be used in other applications. So it's a neat way to get little sound bites, and you don't have to use a different tool for it. You can just use PowerPoint for it. If you don't want to use it, it's just a matter of left clicking it and you can delete it. But there's some audio format options here as well. So you can go into the playback option, and so you can trim it. So if you don't like the start of it, you would just grab the left anchor here and you can remove part of the beginning. And so you have the option to really start it from wherever that recording needs to start. So you're not limited to that whole time that the audio clip was recorded for. So we're just going to hit OK. And you have the option to do a fade in and a fade out there as well, and to control the volume, and you can play it across slides. So it doesn't just have to be on the one slide. So lots of different options there that are available to add to your presentation. So I'm just going to delete that little audio clip. And then finally, the last, there's a few more tools to talk about. So something else that you can do is you can record your slideshow. So I've recorded this using this tool, and as you can see, it's down here in the right-hand corner. And I'll just play for you the clip. Okay, so to find the record slideshow option, as I just went through, you can just left click on the slideshow ribbon up at the top. And so it gives you a number of different options. This is the record slideshow button. We're just going to click record from current slide. And this is the screen that will come up. So as I was going through, you can draw on the screen. You can record yourself talking about it. It really gives you an opportunity to change up your presentation. Just going to clear that. We're going to exit this. Okay, we're going to try and leave this presentation. So another tool that's within Microsoft PowerPoint 2015, and I'm not sure if it has, if it's in older ones, is the Rehearse with Coach feature. So again, we're under slideshow. And this gives you an opportunity to practice your presentations. It will give you feedback as you're going through your presentation with some tips and things you can do to make sure that your pace is comfortable, that you're not using too many fillers like ums and ahs, which is something that I know everyone struggles with. It will tell you how much time you spent on each slide, whether you're reading off of your slide. So it's a really great opportunity to improve your presentation skills. And so it's just here under slideshow and then rehearse with coach. So once you left click on that, it will come up on your screen with an option to start rehearsing. So you have the option to select show real-time feedback, or not to. So I invite you to explore that as an option. And that finishes our presentation. So I thank you for your time today. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm always available by email. My address is fallon.christie@cfmws.com. And I hope you learned something about PowerPoint. Thanks very much.